All right, so let's say you have reviewed that you either have made your decision to buy a brand new home or a subsale home. You're curious to know what are the numbers like in terms of planning your budgeting, your resources, how much would it cost you, when to pay, what amounts, at when, upfront or later on, how does it work? So in this video, I have created a case study of helping you, let's say if you're looking to invest in a 1 million ringgit property. Okay, so I'll just hide my camera here, and then let's bring up the full screen. All right, so, in the first scenario, primary sale, for example, it could be a young couple looking to invest in their first home and then they want to buy a primary sale directly from developers and they're shopping around. Then they look at somewhere near the city center. You typically get uh, around 1,000 square feet. It will be a 2+1 semi-furnished condo. So they might give you, for example, free aircon and free kitchenette, and then the condo comes with full facilities. So that could be like jogging path, gym, swimming pool, barbecue. They might give you, like gated and guarded, secure facilities, keyless door transfer and check-in. It might give you two car parks. So this is what you're looking at. In the second scenario, it could be a growing family wanting to move in closer to their aging in-laws to take care of each other. So it could be out in the urban PJ area lah. So secondary sale of a landed property is not condo. So husband and wife who are working and then they have two kids and then they want to move in closer to the in-law who is retired and aging. So they're looking at maybe a 2,000 square feet terrace house, or it's usually between 1,600 to 2,000 square feet. They come with three bedrooms, a small yard and garden area, two porch with two car parks, of course in the suburban area. So let's start with the sale and purchase agreement. Of course, you have to appoint a lawyer to represent you, especially for a subsale agreement. It's not advisable to only rely on the seller's lawyers, though you can do it, but I advise you not. Okay, some situations you can, for example, you buy it from a very very close relative, who is not going out to cause some trouble or deceive you. The best is you appoint your own lawyer to vet through the document, especially if you're not familiar with legal term. So better if you appoint your lawyer and let your lawyer deal with their lawyer. Okay, so let's talk about down payment. Uh, Typically, if you buy a new property, of course, collection of booking fees is illegal. But sometimes they might ask you for an admin fee of 1,000, 2,000, or 5,000 ringgit, which counts towards your overall purchase price. And then the remaining 95,000 ringgit, they will structure it in some creative way. Maybe they will give you some rebate. They might give you some cashback, things like that. It just depends on their marketing mechanism, but typically you don't have to front the full 100,000 because the developer is trying to promote their properties. But for a secondary sale, you do have to pay the 10% upfront. It starts with making an offer, so you give an earnest deposit of 3%, sometimes 2%, mostly 3%. So that would be about 30,000 ringgit for a 1 million home. And then you have to prepare the remaining 70,000 ringgit within 30 days, okay? You can pay to their lawyer. Then let's talk about the legal fee. So for primary homes, don't have to pay anything. But do double check with your lawyer friend. Just vet through the terms in case there are something weird. There won't be, typically there won't be, but just in case there are something you don't understand or you find a bit weird, better if you clarify it first before you sign. For a secondary home, the calculation is like this. The first 500,000 is at 1%, so 5,000 ringgit. The subsequent 500,000 is at 0.8%, so 4,000 ringgit. And then SST is at 6%, so 540 ringgit. So total S&P for the legal fees 9,540 ringgit. Again, these numbers may change from time to time. You can just Google S&P legal fees for property purchase. Sometimes they have a calculator that you can input in. I'm just being a little bit long-winded here to give you the full breakdown, but of course, do check on the latest fees, because these change from time to time depending on which government has taken over, and then what plans they have included under the new country's budget plan. So it can change, yeah. So, but I want to just give you the rule of thumb. So let's move on to the stamp duty. um, Under primary, typically they will give this to you for free. uh, for example, the government has launched a home ownership campaign in 2019 to 2020. They might launch things from time to time, but of course the developer, they want to push the sale through, so they'll give you this typically for free. And but for subsale, here's the breakdown. The first 100,000 is at 1%. The subsequent amount, 100,000 to 500,000, the calculation is 2%, so it's 8K. And then 500,000 to a million is at 3%, so it's 15K. So you'll be expected to pay 24,000 ringgit. There's no SST for this. Okay. Next one is disbursement. So under legal fees for primary homes, again, typically they don't really charge you this. You do have to double check again. Sometimes they might, but for secondary homes, they will definitely charge you disbursement. So disbursement is for all the administrative work. For example, doing the land title search, checking for your credit rating, checking for various things, doing the photocopying, administrative fee, helping you to schedule the appointments, to sign your documents, giving you some counsel. So those are administrative of nature, and it's about 2,000 ringgit. Okay. Then for loan legal fees for primary and secondary, typically you have to pay this. But for primary ones, sometimes they might give you this discount as well. But I'll just go through with you the breakdown. So the first 500,000 ringgit is at 1%, so 5,000 ringgit. The next 400,000 ringgit is at 0.8%, so it's 3.2K. And then on top of that, you do have to pay an SST. So this is the breakdown. Okay. Next, for the loan stamp duty, sometimes the developers for primary homes, they'll give it to you for free. And then for secondary homes is at 0.45%. I do check, I think in 2022, the percentage has gone up to 0.5%. Yeah. So it has gone up a little bit. Again, double check again on the final figure. These are all mandatory, and the guidelines are issued by the government. And for this, the disbursement as well for the loan, you have to pay 2,000 ringgit. Okay. Next one is processing fee. So typically developers for primary homes, they'll give it to you FOC, but for secondary homes, they might charge you a small processing fee of 200 ringgit. Next, for subsale, they also will give you a valuation fee. They'll charge you for $1 million home is at 0.3%, and an admin fee, something like that. So you could be expected to pay around 3,500 ringgit. So there are 10 additional things to budget on top of all these legal and paperwork. You need to budget, let's say for a 1 million home, you need to budget between 50 to 200,000. And here's the breakdown. Starting with home insurance and fire insurance. If you're buying a strata development, then you definitely have to pay this one. And then for the maintenance fee and the sinking fund, these are used for major repairs in your development. But for strata homes, they collect it upfront on a monthly basis. So you do have to pay this, and then you have to pay the quick rent, or what, or I just simplify for you, is the land tax. You also have to pay the assessment tax for the external infrastructure. So for example, the lighting poles surrounding your development, that is what this assessment tax is for. And then you have to pay for the sewerage, discharge and treatment. You have to pay the power and the water bill. There's logistics involved, so the lorry moving things around to this home. The big one I would say is for the renovation budget. Depending on your comfort level and how much reno you want to do, you need to budget lah. Okay, so the next one is housewarming, and then you also have to pay mortgage insurance for certain loans that you take. Sometimes they won't enforce it on you. It's not compulsory. Okay, so mortgage insurance, some bank will insist it, but some banks say it's not compulsory. But the example is, for example, MRTA. For 35-year-old male with 90% loan, you could be expected to pay around 50,000 ringgit plus for the full term. Okay, and this would not be the full amount upfront, but I think what they do is they'll break it down into your monthly installment payments for your loan. So let's give a summary again. For a primary home for 1 million condo, upfront you can see here there's a lot of incentives given. And of course, this changes from time to time, but you definitely pay a lot less compared to a subsale. And then this 100,000 down payment, they will structure it in a creative way. Maybe you don't have to pay so much. Okay. So they might give you some incentive, some rebate, and always check out the rebates to understand how to adjust your budgeting accordingly. But for the fixed amount, if you invest in a 1 million property over 35 years at 4.5% loan, which is the maximum tenure, you could be expected to pay around 1.8 million in total for the property. Okay, the monthly repayment is around 4,250 ringgit. So the variable fee on top of this is this 50 to 250,000. So when you move in, those are the things I mentioned earlier that you have to prepare the payment, not in one shot, but you can stagger it. For example, your renovation, you can start something more simple first and then progressively renovate it. Of course, you have to take care of your major renovation first. So for your major renovation, maybe just 100 to 150,000 will do. And then after that, for all the loose furnishing, the accessories, the external lighting, your landscaping, that one you can decide later. Those are non-urgent items. Okay. For secondary home, of course, you can see here upfront you have to pay a lot more compared to the brand new house earlier. The fixed amount is the same, the variable amount is the same, but the main difference now is the budgeting wise, you do have to stand by more money upfront. Okay, so this is the rule of thumb. For the budget allocation, especially subsale, you definitely need to prepare 10% down payment upfront. But for new property, this could be far less. And then for all these processing and legal fees and all that, just budget like, I don't know, maybe 6 to 8% of the purchase price of the property for all the paperwork. Okay, and I advise you again to check with your developer for freebies. What can they offer you? Many deals, they come from time to time. There are many options now, of course, for even staggered down payment. So for example, if you can't afford the 100,000 down payment upfront, you can discuss with the developer to do staggered payments. Sometimes they could also provide you financing on that. It could be very expensive, but you have to check out the numbers. Okay, and then finally, so which one is better for me? So here's the summary lah. For a primary sale, 1 million condo, you have to prepare around 1,000 over 100 over 1,000 ringgit upfront, and then in loan later, you only get 1,000 square feet, but you get a better location typically. But if you are willing to live further out from the city, for the same 1 million, you might get, for example, a 2,000 square feet unit, at only 500 ringgit per square feet, but then you have to pay more money upfront for the down payment. So I hope it gives you, as a rule of thumb, lah, more clarification on what is the difference on how to prepare your budgeting. Again, I have to stress that you have to check what is the latest numbers upfront, do a bit of Googling, but essentially they all follow this structure which I have just outlined and shared with you. So let's move on to the next video, and thanks for watching this video.